Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor podcast. We're talking Survivor Worlds Apart, and this week we are staring into the void that is this season. Hey, speaking of staring into the void, Andy, let's talk about Tyler.
Yeah, let's talk about Tyler. You know what? Shout out to all those Tyler's a Mastermind fans out there. You really called it.
Nailed it.
I was thinking we could start this week by discussing all the ways that he was nothing, and we were right.
Other than the fact that we're discussing that Tyler was nothing, that's basically how we start every episode.
Yeah, as long as we're not talking about predictions.
Right.
Although we got this one right.
Yeah, we nailed this.
We knew Tyler was going home because, yeah, he didn't matter, people. Stop projecting your own hopes and desires on the television show and watch it for what it is.
Yeah, he would just sit there silently in the background of shots and people would be like, ooh, Tyler's thinking, he's hatching some plans. You don't know what's going on in Tyler's head.
Yeah, it was actually the reaction to Tyler was just kind of almost instructional, or instructive for life. Not just Survivor only. That if you just stay quiet and just kind of hold your gaze in a meaningful, thoughtful ways, people will just assume the best for you.
Either that or they'll assume you're a serial killer.
But yeah, it's like, I've listened to, an exit interview. I watched his Ponderosa and all of that. His strategy is exactly what we thought. It's like, I'm going to be the calm one. I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to do that. It's just like, yeah, that's fantastic. Enjoy 7th place.
Well, and I mean, I said last week, like, yeah, that's a fine game if this was 12 or 13 years ago on Survivor. That might have helped him win, but that's just not a strategy anymore. It's not going to get you anywhere.
And moreover, I think he actually was a little better than what was on the TV show. And just based on the way that people were treating him like a front runner. The way that they turned to get rid of him now because he was a threat. You still have to trust the television show. So many people watch the show and just, they mentally think of what must be happening. What can't we be seeing? What's really going on? But if you're really making predictions of what's going to happen, you don't need to trust your own hypotheticals. The TV show will tell you. They might lead you down a few wrong paths here or there to keep it exciting. But what they won't do is completely hide somebody who matters. And they were hiding him.
Yeah, they won't make up things out of whole cloth. It's almost like if you're watching Philippines and you're like, man, I don't see much of that Carter, but I can tell he's running things from the background. No, he's just Carter. He's just not getting on the air because there's not much to see. Tyler didn't have much of a narrative arc because there wasn't much of one to show.
Yeah, and there wasn't any value in building one because he was not winning. And in fact, he came very far from winning. And we talked about this before, but this is our time to gloat and to talk more about it. I think people just looked at this season and they're like, okay, there's a dominant alliance, and the show was presenting Rodney as the leader, and everybody's just like, no.
It can't be Rodney.
Yeah, it can't be him. So I'm sure, Tyler's awesome. It must be Tyler. And now let's talk about that. So Tyler was so in control of his alliance and had all these plans that, his main ally flipped on him basically at the first chance she got.
There was no resistance.
No, she didn't need to. It wasn't, I don't even think anybody's pushing her that hard to do it. She was like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yep.
And that was what you were saying, everybody. This is your great hero. Not everybody. Our listeners are incredibly intelligent, and
yes.
You also all predicted that Tyler, well, not all, but the majority of our listeners who vote in our weekly poll also picked Tyler. But a lot of people out there was like, it's gotta be Tyler. And it's like, and what we were saying is, it can't be Tyler. If it was Tyler, it would feel like Tyler. You don't need to keep making these big jumps because you, the more calm, strategic-driven fan, wants to find yourself in the winner. And where this really happened for us, and I think that's why it's even more sensitive for us, is in Cagayan. There were so many people who refused to even accept the idea that Tony was playing a good game,
right,
that Tony was going to win the season, because Tony felt like this spazzy, hyperactive person, but Spencer, that guy feels like he knows what he's doing in Survivor.
Right.
And I'm not going to bump him up. Tyler is no Spencer.
No, he's not even near that level.
And that's what was happening. And last season it happened with Josh, and I think even Josh was a more active player than Tyler. It's just like, well, Mike's too spazzy. He talks a little slow, and he's blue collar, so he's not the big leader, and can't be Rodney because he's a crazy dolt. Which, yeah, okay, fair enough.
Uh-huh.
But it's like, maybe it's nobody. Don't just assume it's the guy who wears glasses.
And you know what? Maybe it's Carolyn. She's not getting the narrative for it either, but to her credit, she might be the wet blanket and she's got a sourpuss every time they show her on screen, but she's not an idiot. I mean, she knew that if she takes out Tyler and she takes out Mike, she can take about anybody else to the end that's going to be left, and she'll have a very, very good shot at winning. If she goes to the end with Rodney and Will, those are good odds for her win.
Yeah, no, remove Tyler and Mike, and every single combination is good odds for her to win.
Right.
Yeah, Rodney and Will are probably the best, or maybe Will and Dan would be the best. Rodney and Dan's pretty good. Sierra might be the least desirable, but it's also nothing really to worry about.
Right.
And we'll get to Carolyn a bit more. Just let's pile on Tyler a bit more before we're done.
Please do.
So his whole strategy this whole time, especially, in the Shireen Boot episode, is just like, we don't need to worry about anything. Let's just remain us 6, and we'll just take out the biggest threat, which, wow, this is the big strategic god you guys were putting up. And I should stop saying you guys. Our listeners are fantastic. That's not a strategy. That's a non-strategy. And guess how it worked out?
I think we can summarize his strategy for the season with, there was a quote, I don't remember if it was the Shireen Boot episode or an episode before, where he says to Rodney, let's press pause on that. Like, that's his strategy for the whole season. Like, wait, let's not do something. Let's pause. Let's just keep waiting and waiting and waiting. And eventually, you've gotten past the point where you can do something. It's too late. You've waited too long. And that's what he did.
Yeah, and you're completely blindsided by the one person who should have been on your side the whole time. And I'm not putting it on her, I'm putting it on you. This is what happens when you are not creative thinking. It's just like, hey, I got it all set up. I'm just gonna be here with all these other hateable people, and I'll be the one calm person, the actual calm, cool, and collective person. But the problem is, if you're so much better than everybody you're aligning with, that could be dangerous. And he never saw that. He was just like, hey, we're just gonna get rid of Joe, and then we're going to get rid of Mike, and then the next step is a bunch of question marks, and then profit. And it's just like, no. And he should have seen it last week. When you know that Mike's not going home, what's your next plan? And he didn't push hard enough for the Dan thing.
Let's talk about the Dan thing, because if he's really in control of that alliance and he's in this power position that some people seem to think that he was, he would have let Will and Rodney in on what Dan's advantage is, just to put the heat on Dan rather than keeping it on him, or even giving a chance of having it be on himself. Just because if you trust those guys enough, and if you're in control of your alliance, you can say, look, guys, we've got to take out Dan. Lie to them about the advantage. Do something. The whole point is Tyler does nothing.
Yeah, like, if you're Tyler at this point, like, or as soon as that, you get back to camp, you do your damage control with Dan, sure. But everything else from that moment on, from the time you go to bed, is, we're getting out Dan this week. It's not, well, let's try and get out Mike. Okay, Rodney, let's have your, silly plan. It's, Dan's our target, and we just have to make sure he doesn't know that. And that's it. It should have been, 5 votes Dan. It shouldn't have, if Mike plays his idol, great. But none of this, he might, everybody knew he was playing his idol, so who cares about this vote split thing? That's just a waste of time. Get rid of Dan, lose Mike's idol, and advance. But no, he didn't do that, and he didn't have the power to do that. Because all it takes is one reward, and he loses Carolyn and Sierra. And moreover, his great big Dan plan, he structured it in a way, or perhaps even more credit, Carolyn structured it in such a way that no votes were cast for Dan because Tyler's not even voting Dan. He didn't have his own fate in his own hands. Like, if you're gonna do a vote split, how do you not structure it so that you are not voting for Mike?
I wonder if, he suggested that and Carolyn said, let's put a pause on that.
The lesson here, people, is don't just assign the skills to people because there's no evidence they don't exist. Try to actually find examples of it existing, because that's what kept happening with Tyler. And then they'd be like, oh, but look when he did this. And you and I made sure to give him credit for things he actually did.
Yes, the few and far between things that he actually did.
Yeah, when he had, the calm, rational discussion with Mike at the merge, when I don't know. I think there was one other time. Or just, that people were coming to him when Carolyn fed him information and Joaquin wanted to be, so it's like there are things, but they're just little things. And I'll even say, last night of the final 7, he was one of the top 3 players, because that's an incredibly low bar.
Right.
I'm not saying he is awful. Our point always was, you guys are taking an incredibly average player and trying to make him into the player of the season because you want the player of the season to be a certain type. And what the last few seasons, especially of Survivor, has shown is there's many different types, and you need to take them as they come.
And there was a scene where Rodney is talking to Tyler, and he's just sitting there squinting and nodding. And I was like, I just want to take this 4-second scene and make it a GIF, and I'm just going to call that Tyler's highlight reel. Because that is essentially what Tyler did for probably 80% of the episodes this season.
Well, I mean, that, like, his footage of 80, because for 80% of any episode, there was just no freaking Tyler.
Well, that's true. 80% of his screen time, I should say, was Tyler squinting and nodding about things.
Yeah, and then moreover, there was just a plenty of very important episodes where he was a complete non-entity, right, including the one where he won immunity. But yeah, so Tyler is not your savior. He is not the winner of the season. We still, let's quick check. Mike's winning, right?
Oh my God. Is it possible to go over 100%? Actually, I know from Mike that it is possible to go up to apparently now 1,000,000%. He ups the ante on the percentages every single week.
Yeah, I'm at 95% because I do believe there's still one other possibility, and that's Carolyn.
Is it because she smiled?
No, that actually might have put her down a bit. It's like, oh, you know what? Don't smile. We're good. What did you think of her move last night? Should she have flipped on Tyler?
Definitely. She has to get rid of Mike and Tyler at some point anyway. Who cares what order she goes in? Yeah,
the worry is that Mike wins immunity next week. Now who's the biggest target, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of timing. And what we've said in recent seasons is if you have a shot at a power player, which amongst this crowd, Tyler qualifies, you take it. What I think might have happened with her move is she has now given herself a much better chance of winning, but a much lower chance in getting to the end.
Right. However, I don't think that there are very strong bonds left with any of them. I guess the closest to a bond is going to be Rodney and Will, but, I mean, does that scare you as a power couple?
No, absolutely not. But prior to that, the closest bonds were the ones involving Carolyn, right?
Right.
It was her and Tyler, her and Rodney, and now those are gone. And, she's won 2 immunities. She's come close in other ones. So she is the next biggest threat after Mike, in a way that she wasn't if Tyler is still there. So it's like, if Tyler was still around, and Dan is a threat to a degree simply because of his advantage. His advantage makes him a threat to a degree, and we're going to get into that probably right after this. So it's like that you could have considered that a small victory. We've taken that extra vote off the board. I still have my meat shield in Tyler, and a bunch of people who are never going to make, or who are not going to make a move against me within the time frame that I have.
Well, and here's where I think you're a little wrong here, because even if Mike goes home next week, which he doesn't, I don't think Carolyn's your next biggest target. You can make cases for other people. You can throw heat on Dan. You can say, oh, Sierra's too likable. You can say, like, oh, Rodney's been running this game for so long. Like, you can make cases for other people. I don't think Carolyn stands out. I mean, she's been dominant at challenges, but they're probably not going to give her much credit for that because she's a 50-plus-year-old woman.
I don't know. I think they might give her more credit. Like, wow, look at her. But more is that because she just made this move, that makes her stand out more, right? In a way that you don't, as Tyler has shown us, you don't stand out very much if you don't make moves.
But, again, consider who's left. Like, yes, that would make her stand out, but is it going to make her stand out to Rodney and Will, who could potentially vote against her? Those guys don't understand Survivor anyway.
Well, it's not even about an understanding. It's about a feeling of betrayal, and, like, she's no longer with us. So there's that, and there's like, and she could win.
Well, okay, so you're assuming then that what Carolyn did was without the knowledge of Rodney and or Will and or Dan.
Yes, I'm assuming that 100%.
I don't think that's true. I think they
Well,
knew.
not Dan. I think Dan knew.
Yeah, Dan definitely knew.
In a roundabout way, he knew.
I think Rodney and Will knew as well.
Yeah, see, we'll see, but I don't think that Rodney and Will knew. I think that they thought that it was the Dan plan. Or maybe Rodney just really thought that his acting performance was going to work.
God. Let's talk about that one later, too. There was not going to be a begrudging praise for Rodney's segment this week.
No, we might be tapped out for those. Look, you said that I was wrong. I have yet to actually decide whether it was a good move or not. I'm presenting both sides of it. But I think on balance, she's given herself a better chance to win.
Yeah.
I could see her going home next week as a result of this, in which case you say it's a mistake. But I think it's a risk worth taking because we've seen many times the player who is not willing to take out their more dominant alliance partner, or at least more perceived as dominant, which it was Tyler. Tyler was getting the credit that she wasn't getting, even though I think there's no reason that he should have. That's not even trashing him. I think they were equal partners in this. The problem is perception is what counts. Jervis could think left and right that, him and Tyser were equal partners. They very well may have been. But nobody else thought that, so it didn't matter.
Right.
And that's what was happening here. Nobody's going to think that now.
And, you brought up, can Carolyn win? Yes, in theory. Like you said before, if we were watching this game live, yeah, she'd be in a pretty good position right now. But we've seen the edit, and she smiled this week, and it was so jarring because she hadn't smiled since the first episode when she found an idol, and she's been Carolyn the Joyless ever since. So the edit has told us, no, she can't win. Yes, she's in a great position. Theoretically, she can win, but the story is telling us she's not going to.
Yeah, that's why I'm at 95%. Just the 5% is maybe they're telling us a crappy story. It's just like, they're like, if we, we could certainly make her more likable, because I've watched the secret scenes for most of the season. There are other times she has smiled or shown excitement, and they've chosen not to edit it to show it, which is what's reinforced my idea. It's like, she's not winning. Because it's not just because there is no happy Carolyn footage, it's because they've chosen not to edit it. Even tonight, or last night, yes, they showed her smiling, but the interview she gives at the orphanage is still her, trashing somebody back at home. I think she was still whatever, Rodney, you're annoying. It was still, it wasn't as generous as Mike's, for instance, about being around the children.
There's a reason that Mike gave that confessional.
Yeah. No, again, Mike's winning everybody. It's just, I'll just allow for that tiny percentage. It's just kind of okay, Carolyn had to win, and we knew nobody would want to watch a season of that. And I'm more willing to give it for Carolyn than I ever was for Tyler, because, sexism. But look, we brought it up, let's get into it now. Cause yes, we were like, well, did Dan know? And it's kind of I don't know if he knew, he just kind of worked out that it worked out for him. I still feel like at the time they were telling Dan the plan that it was going to be Tyler, people involved in that conversation were lying to him. It's just kind of how it's been all season that Dan's not making moves, and it's both a symbol of his stupidity, and it's kind of working out so far for him because
he's Danning his way to the end.
Yeah, you can point to instances, come on, you fool. You have to know it's not turning out, but it's well, they're still not coming after him because he sucks. And it's just a way to convince himself that it's nope, see, I'm right. They're still my allies. Do you have any faith that Dan will ever play his extra vote correctly?
Well, in the preseason, Probst gave an interview, and he says that this advantage is going to play out in a Shakespearean way. Probst is not an English lit major, so I'm guessing that the only context that he knows of Shakespeare is tragedy. So I'm assuming this means that he thinks this advantage gets played in a way that ends in tragedy. I think it's going to somehow work out that when Dan plays the advantage, he goes home that same night. Also, it would be hilarious if it's because he didn't figure out the counting correctly after that nice speech he gave to Shireen about how, superfans don't understand basic math. That would make up for the Shireen not getting vengeance thing for me, as if that's the way Dan goes home.
it would be good if Probst actually has a cool understanding of Shakespeare. Maybe he picked it up in his like rock and roll Jeopardy days or something.
Yeah, maybe he's a big Midsummer Night's Dream fan.
Because now that you bring it up, isn't Dan Foley just like a perfect Shakespearean fool character? Just so sure of his own greatness, but just a complete buffoon, and everybody knows it?
Yeah, I don't think that's the context that Probst was going for with that. But yes, that is true. That's a good analogy.
Yeah, just Shakespeare's way of commenting on the hypocrisy of, like his patrons. That's Dan.
I'm kicking myself right now because I could have just said, like, yes, that could be the way that Probst was talking about Shakespeare. However,
yeah, because I have zero faith that Dan, like, we've been trying to include Dan and his advantage in various scenarios that will benefit Mike. Because that's, well, for one, Mike's winning. So we're trying to figure out how that, it plays into the narrative to help. And also, at this point, our only goal is to find ways to benefit Mike. But you just see how completely righteous he is when he's like, I'm sorry, Mike, but I had to do this. And it's just like, you fool. You honestly have no idea what's going on.
Yes.
These people are not with you, Dan. You're a goat. You are completely secondary to everybody's plans, and your plans are nothing.
Yeah, it's gotten to the point that I can't listen to him talk anymore. Everything just seems too contrived, too just fake. It's so put on. Like, I don't feel like I have any concept of what actual Dan is like.
But, like, the thing, though, is that he's just so contrived and fake. Like, this is actually Dan Foley. He's probably the guy that, like, at every party is telling, you guys gotta hear my stupid stories and all that.
Let me tell you about how your mother's a whore.
Yeah, it's just like, now he has cameras and he just thinks, like, this is perfect. Like, Dan doesn't converse with people, he talks at them, and hey, takes one to know one.
I was gonna say, you should be able to identify that behavior.
But it is, I agree, it's completely contrived. I just don't think it's a contrived invention for the television show. That's just amplifying what he is in every fucking day of his life. And there's something about Dan Foley that makes me swear on this show more than any other contestant.
We really have. We have cursed so much more this season. Although, in our defense, it's a season of Rodney and Dan and Will. And Joaquin. There's just been a lot of reasons.
Well, we should probably just find a way to put in our RSS. Sorry, iTunes, we were lying. Explicit. I think what you say is most likely correct. Dan will play it at some point, and it'll be a womp womp moment, and that'll be awesome.
It will. That'll kind of make it worth it, I think.
All right, so let's get back to the winner of the season, Mike. There's a little contest going on right now that we're going to spend the second half of this podcast talking about, but we all know about it. We don't need to dance around it anymore. It's the Second Chance Survivor, where you get to vote back in people. And all of these people seem to have two things in common. Obviously, the one thing, they've only been on Survivor once.
Yep.
That's been advertised. The other is they've never won Survivor. Mike is on that list. Oh, no!
Yeah, how many tweets did we get last night? Like, oh, my God, you guys, Mike's on the list. Yeah, I know Mike's on the list. So what? Did you watch his... First of all, before I watched this video, I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Mike's still winning the season. Like, that's a red herring, clearly. It's like you're watching a Scooby-Doo episode and they throw out some clearly fake option for the villain. Then I watched Mike's video. Mike is the worst actor I have ever seen. He needs to spend some of that $1 million he's going to win on some acting lessons because...
Or to learn from Rodney, as we're going to talk about in a second.
Oh, yes. Nice transition.
But too early. Continue.
It's so clear that he knows that he wins.
Yeah, no, we're not worried, people. We've talked to some of you down, like our friend Emma actually had to, through actual Twitter, like, I don't know, like email or something. It's like, yeah, they do you think this is Rodney's season? Because the only two contenders for victory at this point are Mike and Carolyn, and they're both on the list. I kind of understand the panic just because the anger this season has induced in people, anger we've shared, that we've kind of like, the silver lining of late has been, at least we get to see Mike win. Mike seems pretty cool. And we've actually, early says, no, he's more than just a nice consolation prize. Mike is actually pretty awesome.
Yep. He'll be a good winner.
Yeah, he might be like an all-time great character and winner at this point. There's still a little bit of time to see how it's going down, but I see no reason why not. Like, we're all angry at him because he, like, yelled at Rodney in week 4. Think about that,
Like,
people.
anybody listening wouldn't yell at Rodney.
Like, that's where, like, public opinion turned against Mike, because he was being bossy to Rodney.
Hey, you know when you should not yell at Rodney? On his birthday, Andy.
When is his birthday? Do you know
God,
that?
I wish I knew, but there was no way for me to get, 40 to 50 hints last night.
I'm no longer blogging about the hidden videos. I'm not even going to pretend like, I'll get to that. No, I'm done. Especially with, 5 of these 6 people. Not interested. But Mike had a good one this week. I'll still watch Mike's. Where he laid into Rodney, and it was beautiful. You guys should watch it. There you go. Bonus video you should watch this week is Mike's, where he's like, Rodney is one of those people who have a whole birthday month. And he's been talking about it, that, like, it's gonna be his birthday when he's out here, like, since the first day. And then it's like, it's gonna be a birthday reward. Quick quote, not a begrudging praise for Rodney, but he busted out a Carolyn impression. So, like, Rodney impression hour is okay.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. That's the enjoyable part of Rodney.
Yeah, but, so he's a great impressionist?
Yeah.
His acting skills,
Yeah.
I love, like, this is how, like, everybody's worried because Mike's on the list, and so it's like, it must be Rodney. You get an episode of basically everybody going, get a load of this frickin' guy. 2 episodes before we and your winner is Rodney?
Yeah, right.
And like his big plan. This is his moment, his strategy. For one, obviously it didn't work. But nobody thought it was gonna work, and everybody got to say that.
Yeah, I realize he doesn't know this because he doesn't watch Survivor in any way, shape, or form. But if he really wanted to quit, he would just quit, dumbass.
Yeah, and I believe Mike called him out on that. It's like, well, if you want to quit, just do it. Oh,
Yep.
no, I ain't quitting, bro. Small begrudging praise to Tyler. On his interview with Rob, he did a fairly good Rodney impression. But I do kind of feel like Rodney's one of those guys that everybody could do a bit of an impression of.
Yeah. I've debated doing one at various points of the season. It hasn't come up organically. It'll probably happen at some point, though.
Bravo, Rodney. It was fantastic. And it sounds like it actually was like, he went, there was more than what we saw. Like on the rainy day, we did get the one footage of, another rant from Rodney about his brilliant plan.
That was a beautiful scene. He's getting poured on and talking about how much his life sucks. That was great.
Yeah. I guess he was out there in the rain, like, while everybody else is in the shelter being like, hey, get a load of this guy. Like, pouring on, like, I'm so angry, and I just want to go home. That's the secret scene I need, Survivor. Show me that. Show me Rodney going all De Niro, while everybody else is kind of like, yeah, so, whatever about Rodney, huh? And Mike's like, yeah, that's cool. I'm playing my idol.
Do you think the producers just sat him out there and just kept asking him more questions, and he's just sitting there like, fuck, I want to go back to the shelter, and they're like, no, Rodney, hang on, 16 more questions and we're done here.
No. He had his plan. He was ready. He had it. It's like Tony doing like rain dances and stuff that they never showed. So there you go. That was an episode of television, huh?
It was. Hey, let's talk about the next week's episode of television and do some predictions.
Yeah, first prediction, Mike's not going anywhere.
Yep.
Next.
All right, so who is going somewhere? It's the battle, I'm calling this the battle of the least affiliated goats. Who are the goats that are left with the loosest alliances?
Yeah, like, if you wanted, like, okay, well, so if it's not Mike, the next biggest threat is Carolyn, but she has an idol, and she's finally started talking about it. So if Mike were to win, I think Carolyn would just play her idol at this point. She only has 2 times to play it.
Exactly.
So then, yes, there's 4 goats. Well, they can't all make the final.
It's a whole goat farm. It's Mike and the goat farm. That's what we should call the rest of this season. Forget the Axis of Evil. It's the goat farm.
Yeah, we could do that because our half is Goat Island, and yeah, we're not going to steal everything from them.
Oh, I don't. To be fair, I don't generally get to listen to Rob Has a Podcast until a couple days later, so I did not know that they called it that.
Yeah, and really, who wants to listen to Stephen Fishbach talk on a podcast?
Oh my God. Who would subject themselves to such a thing? Spoiler alert.
So yeah, it's the prediction for next week. So one of these goats has got to go, and I think it's Dan.
Okay, I'm going with Rodney. Because why not? It's Rodney's turn.
Yeah, honestly, before we started podcasting, I was going to say Rodney. And I just called the audible right now, just for our discussion.
Well, yeah, and I truly believe that Dan is going to go home by blowing his advantage, and he's only got, just like Carolyn has 2 opportunities, Dan has 2 opportunities left to use his advantage. So, yeah, I mean, it's this week or next week for Dan.
Yeah, how does that play out? So I think Mike wins immunity. That's the first thing. Like, yeah, they show him, driving a wedge, trying to drive a wedge, doing the things you're gonna, want to do. He does have some inroads now with Sierra and Carolyn, but no, they're gonna vote him out as soon as he doesn't win. Carolyn would be like, yeah, it's nice talking to you, but see ya. And that would be the only, and even if there is fractures amongst everybody, they'd be like, okay, we can get together to vote out Mike, right? So I think he'll be immune. So then I think Sierra, Carolyn, and then, yeah, they just tell Rodney Will about his advantage at that point. And I think it's everybody but Dan.
Remember how last week we were discussing the peculiar placement of certain challenges? You don't think maybe next week we're going to be like, hey, guys, I found an idol clue. Oh, it turns out the hidden idol is in Mike's bag. Because I'm not going to put it past Mike finding another immunity idol.
Oh yeah, that's definitely on the table. I'm not putting that away either. Actually, this could be what happens. Dan plays his advantage at 6, right? 3-3. Uh-huh. So it's Dan, Will, and Rodney. They're now a complete axis of idiocy against Carolyn, Sierra, and Mike. Dan uses advantage so that there's no rocks. This is the plan. He's been waiting for 6 the whole time. Final six. Unfortunately, Tyler's not here. Mike is, but it's still final 6. That was my grand scheme because I know the math. I'm a super fan. But Carolyn plays her idol, and it just doesn't matter. That's how it works.
That'd be amazing.
That's my full-on prediction.
He's gonna blow it somehow. I'm actually almost persuaded to change my vote to Dan now. That's actually
no.
Am I stuck on Rodney? Have I committed yet?
Yeah, because you're 2 picks ahead of me. So.
Oh, okay. You want an opportunity to catch up. All right, fine. I'll stick with Rodney then. All right, let's talk about.
And then blow me out when he goes away.
Let's talk about the juicy stuff that everybody's tuning in for, and judging by the searches that ended up on our blog, a lot of you are very, very interested in this topic. They finally released the nominees for the Second Chance Survivor season. We've already sort of covered this at several points, but we were more speculating. Now it's confirmed. There are 16 men and 16 women on that list. And first of all, Andy, what do you think about the concept?
Yeah, I'm in favor. I think we are super fans, and there's always, as fans, people are always trying to come up with ways of getting returnees that are just a little different, not the same. We don't just need the same retreads. We don't need Ozzy out there again. We don't need Coach and
no more Ruperts, please.
Yeah, and even just the obvious choices, that person. But then you stop and think, it's well, come on. Are they really going to bring this person back when they could just bring back, all-stars, superstars? So this is how you do it. You flat out say, we're going to invite a bunch of second-tier former survivors, and then maybe some first-tier from more recent seasons. And you guys tell us which of these are worth coming back.
Yeah, and not only that, but it's a much more, even playing field. I mean, they've all had exactly one shot of it. No one's a winner. So from this group, we're going to see, all right, who learned the most from their first shot. It's a good concept, and it adheres to our rule of when you're doing returnees, it's all or nothing.
Oh yeah, no, that's obviously the best part.
Yes,
I've become the biggest objector to fans versus favorite seasons. I feel like, in the sense that I refuse to give Micronesia credit.
Yeah, you kind of won me over to this concept, by the way. I liked Micronesia, but I will admit, it really does stack the deck in favor of the favorites.
Yeah, and it's just there were so many awesome moments in Micronesia. I'm not going to deny it, but it just felt the varsity just holding, the junior B squad back with one arm while playing football, just straight arming everybody. So it's it was awesome when they made them look like idiots, but that's because they knew what they were doing and the other side didn't.
Right.
It's not going to be this. There might, there'll be a mix, because some of these people, if they come back, will not know what they are doing. But that's just traditional Survivor. That's the same as, Will being out there in this current season.
Yeah, and I think some of these people are nominees precisely because they probably won't know what to do even when they come back.
Yeah, and I think, like, because the democracy of it allows them to take a few chances. And it's like, oh, let's see. And if nobody is interested in this person, then they probably will not be coming back. We'll get into the probably in a second. So I think the voting part works. That gives them license. Nobody's like, wow, like you've put a full season of Caramoan type All-Stars. Where it's like, yeah, okay, like 3 people really wanted and a bunch of, really them? Hey, that person got thousands of votes. There is a market for, Sabrina, for instance. Or there's not, and then they won't bring that person. So yeah, no, I like the idea. And what we love as fans is wild speculation, and they've turned that dial up to like 1,100.
Well, you know what else we like as fans is wild conspiracy theories, and
let's get into that.
Some are far less wild than others, because I think I've said all along about this that, look, voting will probably be a consideration in this. I'm sure they will look at the vote tallies for certain people, but there are some people, it doesn't matter if you vote for them or not. They are coming back. Normally, I'm a very lazy person. I wouldn't bother, but I like being right so much that I actually did dig around on the CBS website, and it does say voting is not the only determining factor. CBS's production decisions will play a role in casting this season too. In other words, if they're in a toss-up between this person or that person, they'll see who you voted for. But trust me, Cass is in. It doesn't matter if you vote for her or not. Cass is in this cast.
But vote for her, people. Seriously.
But still vote for her. She deserves it, but it doesn't matter. She's going to get cast anyway.
Yeah, I think that I'm maybe just a little less cynical than you. I don't think that they will take the top 20. I think it'd just be like, okay, that was it. There we go. Full democracy. Because I don't think they're going to publish the results either.
Oh, no, actually, and spoiler alert here, Jeff Probst already disclosed, yeah, he's not disclosing the results.
Yeah. I think if somebody that they were just kind of on the fence about gets a lot of votes, then that person's going to be in.
Right.
And I think if somebody that they were like really confident, like, oh yeah, people are going to be into Brad Culpepper, and there's like no support, then I think he's not. Like, I think that's where it'll matter. I imagine your top 5 vote getters on each side are probably going to get in no matter what, because simple marketing reasons.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that those people were probably going to make it in anyway.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, no, I think this is a good test for outliers. But I think it's also some things like, yeah, if suddenly like it's just like Monica, Natalie, Stephanie, and Michaela are like in the top 10, like all 4 of them is like, no, people, you get 2.
Yeah, sorry. There were only 2 spots for those 4, so here you go.
Yeah, it's not just going to be, Keith, Troyzan, Culpepper, Savage, Dietz. Just like all these old, Varner. It's like, you don't get them all, people. We're gonna dance around because, and frankly, that's exactly what CBS and Survivor need to do. It's all fun to let us vote, but you still need to do this traditional thing you always do in casting. Make sure you have your types, and you make sure you have this and that.
Give it some balance.
Just turns out, yeah, because what you don't want happening is season 1 of Big Brother, perhaps the only season I ever really watched in full, where it was just like, America voted every week. And what America always did was vote out the more controversial character each time. So the way to win was just to be as bland and as nice as possible.
Oh, that was Tyler's time to shine. He missed it.
Yeah, he would have dominated. Eventually it was won by a one-legged guy. So it's just kind of like, it's like, oh, we like that guy and that person bothers us. So I don't want the person that's bothering me this week to be around. But we know that, within reason, you need conflict. You need people that bother you. So yes, as you say, if people just be like, oh, I hated that Cass, and so she doesn't get any votes, the Survivor will be like, no, screw it. We know what happens when you get somebody like Cass on there.
Yep.
And if the fans aren't going to vote for it because they're only really thinking of people they like as opposed to people they'd like to see, we're going to change that.
Well, this actually just gets into one of my other favorite pet theories here, which is that all these people are upset, like, oh, no, I had so many other people that I didn't want on this list. Well, did you have like 5 or 6 that you liked? Well, good. Just root that they get on, and then they're on against a bunch of people that you don't care about. Because you need fodder in a season. You don't want 20 players where you love every single person, and then each week you're like, oh, no, that person went home. Even Heroes versus Villains, Sugar and Randy go home first, and you're like, okay, good. Because, now we're separating some of the wheat from the chaff here already.
And then it was like, what? Danielle's still in? Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, like, for me, there's only maybe two maybe people that was like, oh, that person. Ooh. And there's certainly people what I would have preferred to see more than some the other people, but it's just like, I am confident that I'm going to be happy with this cast, no matter which way it goes. Maybe I'll be really disappointed in one person not making it. And then, or it could be that one of the people we really don't want do. It'd be fine. I'm a Survivor fan. Bring back anybody. Or almost anybody.
Almost.
And I think the other question, like, why not this person? It's like, well, this isn't conscription. Like, people have a choice.
Right.
There's a chance that your favorite person was asked and said no.
Yeah, so let's talk about the people that are on here. Are there any favorites of yours? Let's go ahead and put our cards on the table. Who's your favorites?
Well, so, we're talking about our web traffic and the spike. The big article that's getting a lot is we did a fantasy cast with these qualifications. First-time returnees, no winners. And you and I both picked a tribe. You just trolled so hard on yours. I actually gave it some real thought and tried to cast actual people. And a lot of my options are here. So I'm excited to have a shot at seeing Sierra again. I had PG in there. Shane Powers.
Shane. Yep.
I had Spencer. I had Vetus. So all of those I'm pro. I'm excited for them. And then there was a couple that you actually did draft that also I wanted. Savage.
Yep.
And is that it? Or was somebody else?
Oh, shots fired.
Seriously, is anybody that was on your list make it? Oh, I also had Jeremy on my list. So,
well, I'm sorry, Team Sexy wasn't good enough for you.
It wasn't. So that's there. And then there was a couple that, one in particular, I think that might be the name I'm most excited about is Kelly Wigglesworth. And the only reason why I think neither of us drafted her, you didn't because you were being an idiot.
Fair.
I didn't because we fantasy casted her like 3 other times.
I know. I think we've wedged her into like pretty much every other fantasy cast we've done. So it was fine to leave her out this time. And then this is the one time she actually does get cast, of course.
Yeah. She's possibly getting cast. Yeah. Kelly's coming. Vote for her definitely. But there's no way that the Survivor reached back to the like only other big name from season 1 and are like, we'll see how the people think, Kelly.
Yeah, they're not going to send her some rejection letter and be like, oh, you know what, you gave it your best shot. Like, no. If she got this far, she's going. Not that if anybody happens to interview her, you shouldn't pay attention to that interview.
Yes, if any of your, say, favorite Survivor talking places talk to some of these people, you should watch for that. Actually, just one thing, and I'm pretty sure you know this, but yeah, there's not going to be any rejection letters sent. It's pretty cool. Like, what do you think about what they're doing, how they're going to send this cast off?
That's right. Yeah, we should talk about that too. So here's the deal. They're going to show up to the reunion, all of them, and at least, if you believe what CBS is saying here, what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, here's the people that are going to be on next season, and then they're going to take those people that are in the audience watching the announcement, they're going to sequester them, and they're going to be like, all right, flying out to Cambodia the next day. So they don't have time to talk to each other, make any sort of alliances, anything like that. Although if you don't think they already have, you're kidding yourself.
Yes, but watch, all the alliances you made were people that aren't coming. Yeah, no, like, I'll be the 100th person to make the Hunger Games comparison. It's pretty cool that way. I wonder if somebody who really didn't want to go and then was like, I volunteer. Here's a quick question. Do you bother voting for Mike?
No, so I already have voted multiple times because I am definitely ballot box stuffing for some certain favorites of mine. I have not once voted for Mike, and I'm going to feel terrible if that was a bad decision, but I'm so confident that it's not.
Yeah, like, yes, I'm that way too. It's like, he's gonna win. But I voted for him anyway. Because, for one, it was like, it's not like there's 11 dudes that I'm
That's a good
super
point,
excited
yes.
for, right? So it's like, I'm gonna hedge my bet there because just on the very small chance that Mike doesn't win.
Yeah. For me, it starts to be a reach around like 7 or 8 guys. I'm just like, you know what? A bunch of these are just equal levels of fodder. Like, yeah, this guy. I don't care. Sure.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, then I want it to be Mike. That said, if for somehow Mike doesn't win, I also feel like he's one of those that they just put back on it.
Yes, exactly.
Although his season will probably have a good representation. When we did do our fantasy draft, you decided that you weren't going to cast anybody from this season, and I was like, hey, you can go ahead and put Max and Shireen because they ain't winning Survivor. And look at that, Max and Shireen. Yep.
You can imagine the fist pumping that took place in my household.
That's what we're calling it? Fist bumping?
Well, I guess I could have phrased that differently, although I really didn't have to. It could have been taken either way. Anyway, did you actually watch the videos, though?
I ended up watching them, yeah.
Okay. So, I have a top 3, and it's...
Like for video performances?
Yeah. From the videos, I think, who did the best job? I would say Shane, Jeff Varner, and Shireen. And this is me being totally unbiased. Like, if I just had no previous bias towards Shireen, which obviously I do, I loved her videos so much. My wife was like, let's watch it again. I'm like, yeah, you already get the concept. Like, you want her to come back. She's like, oh, but it was funny. Let's watch it again. Like, it was entertaining. It makes you want her to come back. Same exact thing with Shane and Varner. I watched their videos and was like, man, if those guys give confessionals like that, like, I want to see them again. Like, if their confessionals are anything like their videos, I want them back on Survivor.
I like how you tried to use your wife as an example of somebody less in the bag for Shireen.
Hey, this is very, very pro Shireen household that I'm in.
Yeah, I saw you talk about, like, oh yeah, the best videos were such and such, because I didn't watch it until long after you had, much like Survivor every week. And then I was like, yeah, sure, buddy. Of course you put Shireen on there. But then I watched and I'm like, yeah, no, Shireen actually had the best video of
yes, she did. Them. It was really good. I liked it.
And honestly, I felt like the season 30 cast as a whole was generally better than most everybody else. And it's just because they've gotten their most recent reps in. Yeah, they've been talking to a camera more recently than everybody. Like, this was some of the most interesting Carolyn's looked in a while.
Okay, so I was going to actually single her out because I was stunned by her video. Like, the self-awareness. She knows that she's been shown as a wet blanket, and she's like, look, I'm not that awful, dour, sourpuss-faced person all the time. I can smile, and she actually smiles in her video. A little self-awareness there from Carolyn. I was kind of impressed by that.
Yeah, I thought Max raised some good points of, like, don't let them turn a super fan into a dirty word.
Yes.
You say Mike that didn't give a good acting performance, that, like, if he wins, I agree. But he was fun and animated.
Sure.
I guess Joe was just Joe.
Joe is one of those, it doesn't matter. He's coming back because they can't get Malcolm for this season, so Joe's the Malcolm.
Well, it also doesn't matter because he might get more votes than anybody.
That's true.
So, yeah.
Teenage girls can vote.
Yeah, either him or Spencer. One person that I didn't bring up when we were casting, but was on my short list, and we just mentioned him. I'm psyched to see Jeff Varner. He was somebody that has always kind of been in the back of my head. That's like, it'd be cool if Jeff Varner could come back, but it wasn't really worth talking about because he just didn't feel like somebody who would.
Right, because it seems like if there was a window for him to come back, it's closed.
Yeah, and like he didn't make the jury of his season, like he hadn't been around long. So then all of a sudden it was like Varner. It's like, cool. And then, yeah, as you said, it's like, he was engaging. Yeah, I'm ready for the Jeff Varner experience again. Hopefully, if he gets taken out by a tiebreaker, it's from a much more fair and interesting tiebreaker.
A certain Colored Rock, maybe.
Correct.
There was actually T-Bird's video that I was pretty impressed with as well. I have mostly forgotten T-Bird because it's been so long since I've watched Africa. But pretty good video. Charming, entertaining. I'm down for some T-Bird for the old lady role.
Let's talk about her for a second. Okay. I guess you just started. I agree. Yeah, and also there's another video of her out there on YouTube.
Yeah, I saw it.
It's like a 6-minute. I started watching it and then, I had to do some work.
Yeah, our attention spans do not last 6 minutes.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I was like, okay, I get the point. Yeah, no, she seems lively and all that. I'm still not sure if I care You know, I don't know if I voted for her. It's like, if she comes back, I'd be like, cool, yeah, great, T-Bird. But it's like, I have not spent any time in the preceding 15 years being like, I could use some more Teresa.
And I totally agree with that. But I'm just saying, you know, if you're casting the older woman slot and it comes down to Carolyn or T-Bird, pick T-Bird. I mean, she's at least enthusiastic. She's, you know, she'll fit also that quota of like Southern person that they have to have. Yeah. So I think her chances are pretty decent.
Yeah, no, like if she makes it on, I'd be like, yeah, good, good,
yeah,
good for her. I'm just not sure if I'm going to vote for her. You know, obviously I voted once so far, but I don't remember some of the ones.
That's it, once?
I don't even vote for Mr. and Mrs. Survivor. I had a real election to worry about this week, okay?
It's so cute that you guys have elections up there.
Yeah, well, we like to bring in new leaders every 40 years. But yeah, and like, cause there are some fans out there that are just like, oh, don't just let it be recency bias. You gotta vote the old people in. It's like, okay, just because somebody was on 15 years ago doesn't necessarily mean I need them back.
Exactly.
For example, Kimmy Kappenberg.
Yes.
Really?
Pass. No thanks. However, there's also some very recent players that I'm like, pass. No thanks. One of whom, I'll go ahead and I'll shine a spotlight on it. I don't give a Troyzan, who I like to call Troy because that's his name and his stupid nickname is stupid. Troy is up there with RC in terms of people that I just have an almost irrational level of hatred for. And I think Troy isn't even necessarily about him. To a degree it is, because he's a terrible player. For those of you that forget, he told everybody left in the game, basically, F off, you can't vote me out. He was a terrible player. He even calls it out in his video that I subjected myself to watching. But do not vote Troyzan back in. People who like him strictly because he's the quote-unquote person that stood up to Kim in One World, which is insane.
And also, yeah, you stood up to her after she had made it abundantly clear she was voting you out. You didn't stand up to her when you voted with her to get rid of Jonah. Yeah, no, the legend of Troyzan has always been baffling to me. I don't have the irrational hatred that you have.
It's hard to.
Yeah, it's like, okay, he had some level of charisma in comparison to everybody else there. It was just like, yeah, it was like, it was a season of people just itching and searching. And by the front of the line was Jeff Probst. Oh, I need an alpha male. It's like, well, you don't, okay?
Nope.
Yeah.
You have the alpha, it's just Kim.
Yeah. Troy did this to himself. Like, his whole game was, I'm going to be subservient to a more active strategic player. And first it was Colton, and then it was Kim, until it was kind of like, oh, you've outlived your usefulness, Troyzan. And then his big move is to win one immunity. What a character!
Woohoo.
Hard pass on that one. Hard pass on Brad Culpepper.
Well, okay, so here's the other thing. If either of those two takes a spot away from someone like Savage or Shane or even Jeff Farner, that's effed up, because those people suck.
Yeah, and look, when we were done with Blood versus Water, I put Brad Culpepper on my list of people, okay, he could come back. Like, he was a character on his season. We actually mentioned while we were podcasting about it, that it's like, his strategies aren't that bad. It's right. Him that's bad.
Yeah, he's terrible, but it's just like Rodney. Like, there's been Rodney moments this season where you're like, that's not a bad strategy, but you're still Rodney.
Yeah, but for one, like, his season already has Vetus and Sierra on the list.
Yep.
It almost had Hayden, and he didn't make the last cut, but Brad Culpepper does.
And it's funny that even in his video, he's like, oh, you may remember me because someone said, F you, Brad Culpepper. So, I'd like you all to remember Troyzan by the fact that I'm just gonna say, F you, Troyzan.
So then, with the ladies, obviously they wanted to also get a good mix of, young, attractive women. And it's part of what happens with Survivor.
Of
and
course.
There's some, attractive dudes here, so it's not like they're just being completely sexist, but some pretty bland-ass random choices here, huh?
Yeah, although there was, from the original pool, there were some that were scraping even further to the bottom of the barrel. But again, like I said earlier, that's fine. You need some of that. You may as well have some just so that they can be voted out and your favorite players can stick around.
It's fine until Natalie Tenorelli gets there instead of PG. Then it becomes less fun.
Then it's war.
Look, fine. Natalie or Stephanie, but both? Really? Both? Michaela, I'm actually okay with giving another shot because that was one of the grossest things that's ever happened to a survivor.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
And Monica's very attractive. Like, yeah,
Yes.
if you're just gonna be like, I want somebody attractive, Monica's your best bet there. Just from a straight up, I'm just gonna vote for the person I think looks best. Obviously everybody has different tastes, but if your only reason for voting for Monica is, wow, she's really pretty, I have no qualms with that.
We are males, we understand.
The superstars that, like, are locks that need to come, phrasing.
Yep.
Spencer, Fishbach, Savage, Cass, Sierra.
Okay, so you're actually thinking that both Spencer and Fishbach need to come back.
So this is the thing. Normally I would say you get one or the other.
Yeah.
But they're both here and they're both going to get voted in, so.
I mean, I kind of agree with you. There's, like, no way that they're not popular enough to make it on, but it just seems weird that's the same slot that you're filling with two different people.
Yeah, but two tribes. Like, this isn't going to be men versus women, so
That's
one
true.
tribe gets a Fishbach, one gets a Spencer, and I think that's cool. I'm more okay with them doubling up on, that guy than,
The Brad Culpepper?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Culpepper and Terry or something.
Right.
Now the problem is that doesn't leave a spot for Max.
Sure it does. That's the new spot, the superfan spot that they're including. So Max on one side, Shireen on the other.
There you go. But then one tribe would have Max and Spencer. Wouldn't that be awesome? They're there, and they're just like the new Max and Shireen, just annoying everybody with their ultra super fan.
And that's fine, because the other tribe then has Shireen and Fishbach, and I'm okay with that.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Sign us up. Hey, all those names we just mentioned, I feel like there are some in there that I'd like to talk to.
Yeah, so when this happened, we also got the news that Survivor is letting them all off the leash, which is only fair. They're asking people to vote for them. They should be able to get out there and ask. So be on the lookout in the next week, as we are going to be interviewing a few of these people.
Yeah, those interviews might come in multiple forms as well, because there's only two of us. We do have some correspondence that you might have noticed on our website, so we'll be deploying some of them as well. But again, there's only so much podcasting time, so we'd like to get you guys as much content as we possibly can from these people that are trying to get back on the show. I actually put it out on Twitter, Reddit, and various other places to, get us your suggestions on who you want us to talk to, and you can still do that. And I've already started reaching out to some people because it became very clear right away that there were certain people that, our fans would like us to talk to. We've already got some confirmed. I'm not going to say who they are, but our interviews are going to come in either podcast form or written form. So be on the lookout for them. Keep checking our page. They're going to be coming fast and furious. It's going to be basically wall-to-wall second chance coverage here.
Yeah, we're largely done talking about Survivor 30.
Yeah, it's just become such a fait accompli. Like Mike is winning people. There's not much more to talk about.
Yeah, so you're not going to get bonus video postings. You might not get the traditional Shireen and Max fight for My Love segment. But, there just might, possibly maybe, be some other format of something like that.
I don't know what you could possibly be talking about, Andy.
But yeah, so if you're not already, if you want to keep up with that, you want to follow us on social media at Twitter at Purple Rock Pod. You can send us emails.
Do it.
purplerockpodcast@gmail.com.
Yes!
You can follow our blog, purplerockpodcast.wordpress.com.
Yeah, so like I said, reach out to us. Let us know if there's any particular people that you want us to talk to. And I think you guys are going to be very pleased with the people that we've already lined up. And we're working on a couple others that I think you would also be very pleased to see. So I think we got a pretty good feel for what our audience wants. But, much like CBS, we're reaching out to you guys. So tell us.
Yeah. So all you Keith Nailheads, be excited.
Oh, God. Stick to the plan, people. Vote Max and Shireen.
Woo!
Theme music.
That's what it's like when a woman wants a baby.